I'm 103 years old now, and it took me 76 of those years to understand something that arrived so quietly. I almost missed it completely. I'm not telling you this because I think it will fix anything for me. At my age, fixing is mostly over. I'm telling you because you might still be living inside the part one didn't recognize until it was already gone. Mornings come earlier now, not because the sun is up, but because sleep doesn't stay the way it used to. I wake before the light, and the house sits around me like it's waiting for someone else. Sometimes I forget, just for a second, that there is no one else coming down the hallway. Time feels different when there isn't much of it left. You don't count years anymore. You count birthdays you probably won't see, seasons you might not make it to. You start thinking in smaller distances. Next winter, next summer, next week, if you're lucky. And when things get that quiet, you start to see your life the way it actually happened, not the way you explained it, not the way you justified it, the way it really was. I didn't live badly. That's the strange part. I worked, paid my bills, stayed out of trouble, showed up where I was expected to show up. I was dependable, responsible, steady. I thought that meant I was doing it right. In my 20s, I took a job that was never meant to be permanent. Even though I told myself it was temporary, it paid enough. Came with health insurance. The hours were long but predictable. Predictable felt safe. I married young. We didn't have much money, but we had plans. Trips we'd take someday, a bigger house once things settled down, more dinners out when we weren't so busy trying to keep everything from falling apart. We used the word someday a lot back then. Someday when work isn't so demanding. Someday when the kids are older. Someday when we're more stable. Someday when things calm down. And every time we said it, it sounded responsible, like patience, like maturity. I didn't think I was postponing anything important. I thought I was protecting it, saving it for a better time. There's always supposed to be a better time coming, isn't there? In my 30s, my routine settled in, up before the sun, coffee at the same place on the corner, work until the light outside the office turned orange, home just in time to ask the children how school was while I loosened my tie and thought about the next day. I remember my daughter asking if I could come watch her rehearse for a play. I told her I would try. That word did a lot of work in my life. Try. I tried to leave early, tried to get there on time, tried to make room for things that didn't come with deadlines. But trying doesn't stop meetings from running late. It doesn't shorten commutes. It doesn't make your boss understand that your child is standing on a stage somewhere, scanning the crowd for your face. So I didn't make it. I asked her about it. Afterward, she said it went well. She always said it went well. My son played football for a few years. I went to the first game. Sat in the stands early, watched him run drills with a helmet that was too big for his head. I thought there would be more games after that. There were. I just wasn't. At most of them, it wasn't because I didn't care. That's what I told myself. It was because I was busy building something that would make all of this easier later on. Stay an extra hour. Take the weekend shift. Postpone the trip. Reschedule the dinner. Make it up next time. Next time became the most dangerous phrase in my vocabulary, because there is always a next time until there isn't. My wife used to sit at the kitchen table in the evenings, long after the kids had gone to bed. Sometimes I would find her there when I came home late. We didn't argue much. That would have required the same time we didn't seem to have for anything else. She would ask how work was. I would say busy. She would nod like she understood. And maybe she did once. She mentioned that we hadn't gone anywhere together in years. I told her we should plan something. She said yes. We should. We didn't. The damage didn't arrive all at once. That's the part nobody warns you about. It doesn't come crashing. Through the door, it settles in like dust. A birthday you almost forget. A school event you miss by 10 minutes. A phone call you decide to make tomorrow. A weekend that slips away while you catch up on things that never stay caught up. Nothing that feels important enough to stop everything for, until one day, everything important has already passed. In my 40s, success started to look like something. Promotions, a better car, a house in a neighborhood with trees lining the street like we had always imagined. We moved in and told ourselves this was what we had worked toward. We had arrived somewhere. But it didn't feel the way I thought it would. There was always something else to secure before we could finally relax. I kept thinking that once we reached a certain point, we would begin living differently, more slowly, more intentionally. Back then, we just called it having time. The turning point didn't feel like one at first. It was an afternoon in early spring. My wife had been tired for a while. Nothing serious, we thought. Just exhaustion. Everyone gets exhausted. She went to the doctor because I asked her to. A few weeks later, we were sitting in a room that smelled like antiseptic, listening to a man explain something that made the future shrink. We had time, he said, but not the kind we had been assuming. The months that followed were full of appointments, rearranged schedules, conversations we didn't know how to finish. I left work earlier during that time, sat beside her in the evenings. We talked about taking that trip once. She felt better. She smiled when I said it, not the way she used to. She died on a Thursday morning, quietly in a room that wasn't ours, and afterward, the house didn't just feel empty. It felt like it had been waiting for us to come back from somewhere we had never actually gone. That was when I understood what I had been doing all those years. I hadn't been saving time. I had been spending it on things that didn't know my name, on responsibilities that would never remember me when I was gone, on a version of the future that kept moving further away the closer I thought I was getting to it. The children grew up. They had lives by then. We talk on the phone sometimes. They visit when they can. They are kind, but kindness is not the same thing as closeness. There are stories they share with each other that I am not part of, memories they made in years when I was just coming home late and asking how everything went. You can't go back and sit in those bleachers. You can't show up at the play after it's over. You can't take the trip once the person you planned it with is no longer here to pack a bag. Some things don't wait, and some things don't forgive the waiting. I thought being remembered would come automatically, that if I worked hard enough, provided enough, built enough, my presence would somehow be understood, even when I wasn't physically there. It doesn't work that way, people. Remember who sat with them, who listened, who showed up when it would have been easier not to. If you're sin, listening to me now, I'm not asking you to do anything dramatic. I'm just telling you what I wish someone had told me when I still had decades left instead of seasons. There is no later that arrives with more space in it. There is no someday that clears its schedule for you. The time you think you're saving by waiting is the time you are using up. Quietly, I have very little time now. The mornings are still early. The house is still quiet. And there are days when I sit in this chair and try to remember the sound of her laughing in the kitchen, or the way my son used to wave from the field when he spotted me in the stands that one time I made it. Memory is all that's left of what I kept postponing. And memory is a poor substitute for being there.